Good day, everyone. Assessment for learning is about undertaking assessment during the flow of learning in order to impact upon that learning. It is an ongoing process and requires deep involvement on the part of the learner in clarifying outcomes, monitoring ongoing learning, collecting evidence, and presenting evidence of learning to others. Assessment for learning refers to the formative use of assessment information gathered from both formal tests and informal observations of students, their work, and their responses in classroom discussion to gain insight into the students' learning progress so that teachers and students can adopt their teaching and learning strategies to better support that learning. This course consists a broad array of topics. 1. Authentic assessment in the classroom. 2. Performance assessment. 3. Authentic assessment of the affective domain. 4th, communicating authentic assessment results. 5. Grading and reporting. And lastly, assessment of one's teaching practice. These are the topics that covers assessment for learning too.
Unit 1. Authentic assessment in the classroom. First, let's talk about the high-quality assessment. High-quality assessment is an assessment that demonstrates and improves students' learning target. It is vital as it gives educators an information that can help them adjust their instruction and to improve learners' performance. And it also provides summary report on the level of knowledge or performance attained at the conclusion or at the end of the quiz. It protects academic standard and helps track students' performance. Now, what is authentic assessment? So, authentic assessment is an assessment where learners apply their acquired knowledge to real-life situations. Authentic assessment is realistic in nature and it requires creativity, ingenuity, and resourcefulness. It should be action-oriented and complex enough. Why use authentic assessment? Because it does not only focus on giving the content of the lesson, but to allow students to actually apply the knowledge they acquire in a meaningful way. It also allows students to learn from their own experiences. I believe that providing high-quality assessment and authentic assessment can make both teachers and students attain their goals and experience a high-quality education. I learned that assessment is vital to both teacher and students, as it helps teachers to know if they have improved their instruction and if their students acquire what their students have to acquire. It also allows students to learn and apply their own experiences and learnings in real-life situations.
Performance assessment is a way to measure students' learnings in a particular subject. It is an activity where students are able to showcase their learning in the form of generating products. Its purpose is to improve students' their learning experiences and how do they apply it. There are two types of performance assessment, the process and the product-based. It also has principles to be followed and there are 4 of it, in which it serves as an essential aspect of developing quality assessments that are to be utilized effectively inside the classroom. For the designing of performance tasks, there you can find the learning objectives, provision, and proper guidance of evaluating students' learnings. When speaking about developing performance tasks, it should be aligned to assessment options and plans to grasp model. It is a model that acknowledges the centrality of standards but also ensures the students truly understand the content and can apply it in meaningful ways. Knowing the strengths and weaknesses of the diverse learners is also crucial so that the assessment given will cater to all the different needs of the students. Checking the performance of the students, choosing the appropriate scoring rubrics that can best provide feedbacks to students for their performance is being utilized. With that being said, we have learned that teachers have many options on how to conduct their assessments. There are types of performances to be considered, and that is according to what they believe is for the good of their respective students.
The affective domain is a part of a system that was published in 1965 for identifying, understanding, and addressing how people learn. This describes learning objectives that emphasize a feeling, tone, an emotion, or a degree of acceptance or rejection. It is a far more difficult domain to objectively analyze and assess since affective objectives vary from simple attention to selected phenomena to complex, but eternally consistent qualities of character and conscience. Nevertheless, much of the educational process needs to deal with assessment and measurement of students' abilities in this domain.
For Unit 4, we have here communicating authentic assessment results. We've learned that effective communication requires understanding the emotion and intentions behind the information exchange. Furthermore, we communicate in order to inform, convey, persuade, seek information, and express emotions. To avoid misunderstanding, it is important to maintain the quality of the message, especially when making announcements or disseminating important information. Next, we use portfolios, which allow students to direct their own learning by seeing and self-monitoring their academic progress. These can also be used to determine a student's level of achievement because they can clearly see which aspects they excel at and which they struggle with but can still improve on. And we have here a quotation by Baskin 2008, which stated that e-portfolios are a way to generate learning as well as document learning.
One of the units for discussion in ASL2 is about grading and report. In this unit, we have learned the importance of grading system that give feedback to students so they can take charge of the learning and to provide information to all who support the students, teachers, special educators, parents, and others. Reporting system that is to communicate the students' achievement to families, post-secondary institutions, and employers. We have also acquired learning on how to grade students using the letter grade that uses a letter scale instead of numbers, percentage grading that uses a percentage scale, grade averaging that teaches us how to calculate semester, end of term or end of year course grades. We have also learned how to gauge a cumulative GPA. On the other hand, we have also learned the importance of report cards, for this communicate the level of academic achievement, life skills, and social-emotional growth. This unit of ASL2 have teaches a lot to better assess the performance of these students.
So the next would be all about assessment of one's teaching practice. Reflective practice is the ability to reflect on one's own actions. It determines whether or not the goals of education are being met. It also provides a means for teachers to improve their practice to effectively meet the learning needs of their students. There we have reflective practice using learners' attainment data, the learners' test scores and the non-test data and other information, and the reflective practice through performance evaluation, so students, peers, and supervisors as evaluators. All these reflective practices are important so that we teachers identify and diagnose student learning and make adjustments in our teaching practice. Next, supervision is assistance in the development of a better teaching learning situation. This can facilitate the professional development of teachers. So we as a group and as future educators, we have learned that through this, we can evaluate and revise our own teaching practice continuously. And it encourages us to become lifelong learners, makes us more open to developing a variety of teaching methods.
In conclusion, assessment is the ongoing process of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting evidence, reflecting on findings, and making informed and consistent judgments to improve student learning. Remember, assessment of learning is an approach to teaching and learning that sees what students can do in order to create feedback, which is then used to improve students' performance. Assessments can range from simply asking questions during a lesson to class presentations after a unit of study. Assessment is not only a way we can measure student performance, but it is also a way for teachers to plan instruction and reflect their own methods of teaching. So as pre-service teachers, we should plan to use assessments that show progress over time, as well as assessments that allow the student to display what they have learned at the conclusion of the lesson. To put it simply, assessment then is a way for both students and teachers to evaluate their learning.